right, welcome back to the Counteract podcast, which is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. I'm Abigail DeJarnatt, and today we're going to be talking about something that's just kind of been on my mind for a couple of years now, and that's Ben & Jerry's. And honestly, I have beef with Ben & Jerry's because I loved Ben & Jerry's. I loved it. The half-baked Ben & Jerry's with like a bowl of Chex Mix is like a random snack that got me through high school. And then I went to college and it was still Ben & Jerry's half-baked with Totino's pepperoni pizza rolls. And that stuff's just really good. And then as things got heated up politically in 2020, 2021, I started paying attention to what Ben & Jerry's was saying online. And it's just so blatantly anti everything that I stand for and believe that I had to stop buying Ben & Jerry's. But I think there's a couple of things that we can glean from this. Number one being, okay, boycotting a company is not going to shut down a company, a corporation like Ben & Jerry's, if I personally boycott a company. But there is something to be said about stewarding our resources toward companies, supporting companies that actively hate our values. There's one thing if the company, well, maybe they're not a Christian conservative, biblically based company. It's another thing if they're like actively supporting, praising, celebrating abortionists, which is a thing that Ben & Jerry's does. And then they're super outspoken. Are we super outspoken? Like, they're an ice cream company. Do our lives reflect our beliefs on that fundamental of a level? We'll jump into all of that in this kind of this. We'll see how the conversation goes. A lot of thoughts here. I've been thinking about Ben & Jerry's for a long time. Finally, just sat down to talk about it. But before we jump into all of that, we're going to talk about how Counteract USA, the Counteract podcast, is now a part of the Herzog Foundation podcast network. So if you've never heard of the Herzog Foundation before, they are all about advancing Christian education and empowering families, educators, and leaders to boldly stand for biblical truth. So as you can tell, this is an ideal partnership with Counteract USA because that's what they're for too. They want to see biblical truth influence Christian education and equip and empower families to do that. So through this partnership, you can check out the Herzog Foundation podcast network there and you find even more conversations about the issues shaping our generation through the lens of scripture. So what this means for you, go check it out. Go learn more about the Herzog Foundation and their mission at herzogfoundation.com, and we'll just keep standing firm in the faith together. Okay. So Ben & Jerry's. I can't tell you how many times I have literally walked into a gas station needing a pint of ice cream. Allie Paris, who's sitting in the studio right now, she's giving me crazy looks because like she can personally attest to the fact that it is often that I will say, I need a pint, and I'm referring to a pint of ice cream. I don't drink, but I'm referring to a pint of ice cream. Allie is giving me crazy looks, but it's but it's true. It's really, really true. After a long day of traveling or speaking or been on the road for a long time, personal life isn't going well. Something happens. You just got to whip up to the gas station and get a pint of ice cream. Allie, I wish that we had two camera angles right now because Allie is giving, it deservedly so. But I've walked back out of gas stations before because the only ice cream that they have is Ben & Jerry's and like the Kit Kat brand ice cream. Number one, I'm not eating the Kit Kat brand ice cream. B, number two, I can't buy Ben & Jerry's anymore. I can't go, if you're sitting here going, Abby, it's not that big of a deal. Go scroll their social media. Like literally go find Ben & Jerry's on Instagram and scroll their social media. That's everything you need to know. I mean, it is blatant. It is blatantly anti-Christian. It is blatantly anti-conservatism. Why? Why would they do that? They're an ice cream company, but they have a platform. They have influence. They can take something that seems innocuous, like ice cream, and turn it into a activism tactic, an activism strategy. They understand that politics is downstream from culture, and what is more culturally relevant to young people then ice cream. Again, ice cream. Allie's still giving me looks, but I really, really, really like ice cream. Like, we are genuinely talking, like, this is one of, like, as when people ask, what do you like to do outside of Counteract? Usually it's some activity involving ice cream, especially in the summer. I eat ice cream almost every night of the summer. It's like a fun way to wind down the day. And so you can think like, oh, Abby. It doesn't matter. Just buy the ice cream. If you like it, just buy the ice cream. But, like, really? Is it that simple? Should I feel okay about stewarding my money toward this company? If you're not, still haven't looked up their Instagram yet. Ben & Jerry's is engaged in anti-Israel activism. And I'm talking, like, I saw a post that said, we will not be selling ice cream to occupied Palestinian territory. Why? Why would you need to? They did receive some backlash for this because people saw it as anti-Semitic, but also right. They have advocated for defunding the police in the wake of 2020. Again, when I was kind of first alerted to how radically woke, liberal, aggressive Ben & Jerry's is, they not only supported defunding the police, but they called for the outright dismantling of law enforcement, claiming it was rooted in white supremacy. Again, this is primarily occurring on social media. And it is just bizarre because it's like these cute, trendy graphics that are like Ben & Jerry's logo, Ben & Jerry's vibe. They've got there's like lots of grass and cows and landscape, and it's cute and cartoonish. But then it will like randomly talk about how the upcoming election will take away women's rights if Donald Trump wins. And you're just like, what? Why? Why would you do this? Very, very, very radical climate change advocates, activists, Ben & Jerry's, that is. Again, we're referring to ice cream this entire time. And then the one that Christians really just cannot get past is the pro-abortion activism. And I'm not talking pro-choice. I'm talking pro-abortion. Just a few weeks ago, they were recognizing, celebrating abortion workers, abortionists, actively celebrating, supporting people who literally engage. Again, we're talking abortionists, people who literally dismember babies limb by limb, crushing their skulls, tearing them into pieces, reassembling them on a tray only to discard them. Yeah, those guys. Ben & Jerry's they got those guys. They got their backs. This isn't just a case of a company that has political opinions, because this is the United States. You can have your political opinions. This is a company that is like aggressively trying to leverage their platform to shape the culture. Every policy, movement, ideology is ultimately rooted in a worldview. We see that. There is no neutral ground. There's that C.S. Lewis quote. I haven't quoted it in a long time on the podcast. So if you're new here, there is a C.S. Lewis quote where he says, there is no neutral ground in the universe. Every split second, every square millimeter is claimed by God and counterclaimed by Satan. So when it comes to positions, when it comes to ideologies, there is no point of neutrality. It's not just an ice cream company. It's progress in one direction or another. They want to progress toward a specific end or goal. We can't be morally relativistic when it comes to our views or opinions on company political stances. I stopped buying Nike a long time ago because they just went a bridge too far for me. There are certain places where we as Christians have to understand that we can draw our lines in the sand, and then we have to resolve to stand. We have to just, okay, fine, I won't shop at Target. Okay, fine. If Ben & Jerry's hates me, then I won't give them my money. We see a lot of social justice activism through these companies. And I will say that a lot of it is their marketing teams. The people that are making the dollars and making the ice cream, they probably don't care that much, but it's their marketing team. I took one marketing class. I started one marketing class in college. And this was literally what was talked about. The professor literally got up there and said, we, the marketers, the advertisers of America, are the ones who shape the culture. We control the politics because we control the minds of the people. It's scary. And in fact, in this class, the professor said that companies who were doing a great job of this were companies like Ben & Jerry's, like Nike. It isn't just about selling a product. As innocuous as ice cream might seem, it's not that simple. And whether or not the CEOs of the company really care about what the marketing strategy is, as long as money is coming in, the marketers, the advertisers, some of them may simply just want to sell more ice cream. But some of them, like my professor in that class, may have a ulterior motive, may have some end or aim to shape the thinking of a culture through the way that information is presented to them. It's kind of like the concept of an omnibus bill, where the bill that's being passed might be about infrastructure in your city. Well, I guess this would be more on a federal standpoint. It's something that seems kind of straightforward and easy, but then you tack all these other things on it, all these other things into it. You want to try to get the bill passed about your taxes, but you want to see if you can get some abortion funding in with it. And we need the one about the taxes. So we are just, I guess we'll just amend it to, okay, it's fine. We can just pass the thing and it's whatever. Things aren't that innocuous. Advertising marketing, not that simple. Super Bowl ads are a great example of this. It is like you're watching a weird dystopian political information group think, double speak experiment going on when you're watching the Super Bowl. And a lot of us, we don't watch as many ads as I think we used to because we can skip ads. We're not as subjected to as many ads. But there are still ads happening all around us, whether we realize it or not. Marketing is the world we live in. We live in a consumer culture, so marketing exists all around us. So the ideology of the marketers, the worldview of the marketers, well, it's naturally going to trickle down. So we have to make sure that we are being sober-minded and watchful, even when it comes to the ideologies shaping the advertising that we are subjected to. There's a lot of influence in our consumer culture in the hands of the marketing and advertising strategists who are selling products. We have to be discerning consumers. We also have to be discerning a discerning audience, even if we're not buying the product. We have to make sure that we are thinking through, okay, what is being sold to me in this advertisement? And I'm not just saying just a product, but what's the ideology? What's the angle? What's coming behind it? We've seen Chevrolet. We've seen some other companies in recent years that are kind of shifting back toward a more family-oriented, family-centered strategy when it comes to their advertisement, which I think is indicative of a cultural moment that we're seeing ourselves in. We're kind of in this precipice, this tipping point where we saw the brutality of the woke ideology that was in everything. And then people kind of got tired of that. And so the marketing, well, it wasn't as directed toward the LGBTQ plus movement in 2024 as it was in 2023, 2022. It was more family-centered, more family-oriented. So it's crucial that we're paying attention, that we're aware, that we're responding, engaging. Ephesians 5:11 says, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Culture isn't neutral. Advertisement isn't neutral. We need to make sure that we're shaping the culture instead of just reacting to it as well. The church's role isn't just to complain about where things are going, but to build, create, respond, lead. So the question really isn't, should we care about what Ben & Jerry's is doing? It's, how are we thinking about it? What are we doing in response? Are we having conversations about that? If your friend's eating Ben & Jerry's, it's not like, oh, shame on you for eating Ben & Jerry's. Like, no, whatever. But talk about the ideology behind the marketing strategy of Ben & Jerry's and other companies. That sounds nerdy, but that's kind of how we stay sober-minded and watchful in these scenarios. Romans 12:2, one of our favorites here on the Counteract podcast, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Renewal is a process. It's not a one and done, okay, I'm a principled conservative Christian. No, it's a process of renewal, of thinking, okay, is this true? Is it not? Where is the neutrality? Where is it not? Where am I? Where is this company? Where is this person? Where is this news anchor? Where is this person trying to influence me toward a specific line of thinking? Colossians 2:8 says, see to it that no one, not even an ice cream company, mind you, but the verse says, see to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. Matthew 28:19-20 says, therefore, go, make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And if you're like, Abby, what does the Great Commission have to do with Ben & Jerry's and marketing and advertising? It's the conversations that we have with our friends, with our family members, about things that seem innocuous, that seem neutral, and understanding where the worldview implications are, discerning what is true and what is not, spurring one another on to love and good works, to be more obedient toward Christ, even through things that seem as neutral as ice cream. And that's really the point I'm trying to make on this episode, is that this has gotten me good for many years now. If anyone who knows me knows that Abby has major beef with Ben & Jerry's, primarily because I love the product that they sell. I love the product that they sell. I don't love the ideology that they sell with it. I hope that you got something out of that episode. Again, thinking through marketing, biblical critical thinking. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Counteract podcast. If you're interested in learning more about Counteract USA, you can check out counteractusa.org. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundations. The views and opinions expressed in this episode, very strong ones, mind you, are mine, Counteract USA's, and do not necessarily represent those of the Herzog Foundation or the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network. Thank you so much for joining us. Check us out on social media. We will see you next time.